Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. Anglican Bishop adds his voice to the call for citizens of Barbados to get vaccinated. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Thursday, 21st October 2021. Details when we return.
Hubbard's big promotion is back. Live free for 1 year. Spend $50 or more in any Hubbard's department and receive a chance to win big prizes every month. Property or vehicle insurance for 1 year. Free internet, cable and data for 1 year. Free fuel for 1 year. Free cooking gas for 1 year. Free electricity for 1 year. Free drinks for 1 year. Extra cash account and the big free groceries for 1 year. Promotion runs from April 1st to September 30th, 2021. Live free for 1 year with Hubbard's in association with Solgas, Flow, Grenadian General Insurance, Carib Brewery, Coca-Cola, Grenada Bottling Company, Grenlec, Communal Cooperative Credit Union, Dutch Lady Milk, Promo, Danny and Supreme. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back. Barbados' Anglican Bishop Michael Maxwell on Tuesday added his voice to the recent surge in COVID-19 cases, urging Bajans to take the vaccine and adhere to the protocols. More in this Barbados Today news item.
In his pastoral message on the Feast of St. Luke, he said there's no time to waste and Barbadians must act now.
Due to the presence of the Delta variant, we have reached that point where there is a wide community transmission of the virus. And we need to act now, more than ever, to halt this spread and to be resolute in the preservation of our lives and our mental and social well-being. We began this year with just 7 deaths due to COVID-19. However, those numbers have risen steadily, and so far we have already lost just over 100 precious lives over these last few months. This, my dear friends, is indicative that we as citizens have been letting down our guard and not doing our utmost to secure our lives and that of others. We have not been exercising enough due care and attention, even at a time when our God has provided us with the wisdom to recognize the seriousness of the situation and the destructive nature of COVID-19.
He appealed to citizens who are medically able to take COVID-19 vaccines to do so as soon as possible.
Today we have available to us a number of vaccines that have proven to score not 100%, but a high percentage of success in boosting and enabling our immune system to fight off this deadly virus should we become infected, and also to limit our ability to spread it on to others. I therefore exhort you to take one of these vaccines if you are medically able to do so. And if you're not, I urge you to double your efforts in building up your immunity. And whether you are vaccinated or not, to closely follow the required protocols to avoid being infected.
Government is addressing grave concerns about the St. John's Public Cemetery nearing capacity. Health Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, Sir Malwin Joseph, says the government has conducted a graveyard audit for burial site options. In addition to the public cemetery, there are 24 other burial sites operated and managed by the community groups and churches. Cherilyn Biza of ABS News reports.
Sir Malwin assures there's no need for alarm as the government is in the process of establishing the inventory, use and maintenance of burial sites in the country.
We are about to meet with these individuals, these churches and these community groups, and we're about to discuss with them the utilization of these burial sites so that we do not accelerate the use of St. John's Cemetery.
Meanwhile, he says work on the new legally designated cemetery will commence shortly.
The fencing of that burial site should start shortly. Cabinet has mandated that be done, and we should see the fencing, which is the first thing we have to do to secure the site.
He says the process is being guided by an expert from the United States on the development of burial sites.
For instance, each burial site will be identified in terms of the Google Maps and so on. So you don't have to guess. In the new site, there'll be software that if someone is buried in a particular spot, that becomes a record.
The grave can then be found using Google Map. Sherilyn Beezer reporting for ABS News.
Vice Principal of the Dame Pearlet Louise Primary School, Idonia Jules Mayers, who is also a grade 6 teacher, is looking forward to face-to-face interaction with the students despite having some reservations about adherence to COVID protocols. Her comments follow a decision by the government of St. Lucia to allow the resumption of in-person instruction for grades K to 6, as well as 4th to 5th formers at the discretion of the education institution.
Vice Principal of the Dame Pearlet Louise Primary School, Idonia Jules Mayers, who also functions as a grade 6 teacher, describes the possible return of the students to the physical classroom setting as a wonderful thing. The face-to-face interaction will ease the strain that teachers have been under in the virtual platform. It will also make it easier for teachers to conduct the school-based assessment examination, which is the first of its kind at the primary level. Many of the teachers would be seeing those coming in from kindergarten for the first time, making bonding much easier.
These are children that the teachers had never seen before. It's the first time they're coming into the system, the primary school system, and I know that the teachers would welcome the idea of having them to be with them, to teach them face to face.
On the flip side, the vice principal is anticipating a few challenges in getting the students to adhere to the protocols, especially physical distancing, as many of them have not seen each other for a long time.
I know it's going to be a little challenging keeping them away, especially the grade 6s, because they have not seen each other for a long time. So I know it's going to be a challenge having them and trying to get them to adhere to the 6 feet distance and all the protocols. But I know that the children themselves really want to come back to school.
Nonetheless, Mrs. Jules Mayers is confident that teachers will be able to get the children to cooperate. For the DBS News World, I am Don Nicholas.
Hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
A former police sergeant in Guyana, Colin Bailey, who was freed of a murder charge last week related to the death of his wife after the prosecution admitted in court that they have no evidence against him, is preparing himself to file a lawsuit against the state of Guyana. More in this News Source Guyana report with Gordon Mosley.
Former police sergeant Colin Bailey, who was freed last week of a murder charge related to the death of his wife after the prosecution admitted in court that it had no evidence against him, is getting ready to file a lawsuit against the state of Guyana. Bailey spent over 5 years on remand in various prisons. Back in 2016, he was arrested, charged, and committed to stand trial for the murder of his wife, 3 years after the murder. Last week in the High Court, a jury was instructed to return a not guilty verdict in the murder trial after the prosecutor told the court that there is no evidence linking the man to his wife's murder. A few days earlier, another man who was also held for the same murder pleaded guilty to killing the businesswoman and did not link the former police officer to the crime, saying he acted alone. That other man is now awaiting sentencing. During a virtual press conference today with his attorneys by his side, the former murder accused Colin Bailey said the state failed him badly and it has destroyed his life. He will seek damages.
I believe that the system has failed me miserably. And this is not only happening now. I gather you suffer the same thing. With me, it was just a continuation of what the system is doing. That is why I was so devastated at one stage, because I'm looking at, is this the state with all its legal mind there, looking at the file that I could see there's no evidence, and I'm there suffering in prison. I was surprised.
Mr. Bailey said the more than 5 years that he spent behind bars awaiting trial for a murder he did not commit and played no role in was dreadful.
Well, people think that everyone in prison, they have done something. And as a result, it's just perhaps it's good for them and that's what it should be. But it's not so. It was moving from the next one prison to the next prison. And being confronted with all manner of real bad things. Things that normal human, being don't really experience that often. What you see, the place you sleep, where you have to go and bathe. For instance, 42 person might be using one shower that is accommodating only one shower accommodating 42 person, same toilet accommodating that same amount of people, and crazy people too, very violent people.
Two of Mr. Bailey's attorneys, Konya Sandiford and Ronald Daniel, said they believe a commission of inquiry should be held into the circumstances that led to the charges being laid against their client, which ultimately resulted in him being incarcerated for over 5 years.
However you feel personally about this individual that you don't know, did the system work for him? And why are we here today? Are we beating up on the prosecutorial arm? Or are we simply saying, this needs to be checked out, right? And if not us, then who? I don't know, right? Can you imagine your son or your daughter caught in this web? And who would you go to for assistance? And when you do come to counsel, whoever is your counsel, and they say, well, I will keep checking, I will send a letter, I will file a motion, and we go back into the same clogged system. Is that sufficient legal representation? So your relatives, to the funerals you didn't go to, the weddings you didn't attend, and to the heinous experiences for someone that you are admitting should not have been charged in the first place.
So what we're calling for, joining the call of the court, is for a commission of inquiry into the operations of the prosecutorial arm of the state with respect to the incarceration, detention, and the prosecution of persons, especially in instances when there is no evidence against those persons. So we're basically calling for an inquiry into how the prosecutorial arm of the state operates, what filtering process that arm of the state goes through when it deliberates or prosecuting, when it deliberates laying charges, when it deliberates at committal proceedings, and when it deliberates in the presentation of indictments.
In her ruling on the Bailey matter, Justice Joanne Barlow, who heard and dismissed the case last week, said there is something fundamentally wrong with the justice system when a citizen can be charged, committed, and indicted when there is no evidence connecting that citizen to the commission of the offense.
Did you know that your friends and family can now shop at the Food Fair from anywhere in the world, and you can receive here in Grenada? The Food Fair and GrenadaMarket.com now make it possible through secure online shopping and personalized customer service. Simply send your loved ones a list of your preferred items or let them fill an online basket, and the items will be available for pickup or delivery. Visit GrenadaMarket.com or thefoodfair.gd today for more details. The new norm. Spread the news.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.